Empire. At long last, Cam Newton finds a home. And it was kind of expected. What's up, everybody? This is Mike Jones. Thanks for coming back for another episode of the Football Jones podcast. You can read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByMikeJones. And yep, we're talking Cam Newton. And to do so, welcoming back Jerry Brewer, columnist of the Washington Post, because we had talked about Cam Newton and his prospects shortly after he was released. And now that Cam Newton has agreed to terms with the New England Patriots, I felt it was only right that we have Jerry Brewer back on so we can revisit that topic. And I tell you, there's a lot to discuss, a lot of layers for us to unpack. So we're just going to jump right into it right now.
All right, here we are. My guy, Jerry Brewer of the Washington Post, columnist. You know, Drew, I had to have you back on because right after Cam got released, we talked about what was going to happen with him, and here we are. Cam has a new home, so I felt like it was only right that we kind of followed up on this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, since the last time I was on, Tua's been on here and all these other high-profile guests, I was thinking, Brew ain't never going to be back on this podcast.
Oh, whatever. You're like up in that elite category of guest is what it is. You know, I'm just happy that all you people want to talk to little old me.
Anquan Bolden. I was like, nah, man, I ain't never getting that call again.
No, you're always going to get the call. Always going to get the call. And we were talking last night. You know, for you guys who don't know, Brew and I are good buddies from our time at the Washington Post. Actually, we were friends, met through mutual coworker friends, and then we worked together at the Post, became close, and you know, we are each other's, lots of times we'll be a sounding board for each other when we're writing columns. So last night I had to write about Cam, and Jerry and I started talking back and forth, and I was like, man, I should just hit the record button right now, like, and just have a podcast about our thoughts on Cam. So I said, hey, we gotta, you know, do a follow-up, and here we are. What was your reaction to Cam you know, landing with the New England Patriots after this 3-month wait and a month before the anticipated return of training camp?
Well, Mike, there are some things that are rather obvious, but for some reason in the NFL, the obvious just didn't happen. When Cam separated, you know, was released from Carolina, you know, and Tom Brady did his thing, obviously already. I thought New England, the Chargers made a lot of sense. Jacksonville made a lot of sense to me as well, a couple of others, but it was just like, who's going to really pull the strings? And in the NFL, it's kind of weird how a lot of things that you expect to happen or that make logical sense just don't happen. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and you're like doing all this revisionist stuff and you're like, why didn't you see this?
Right.
So it really strikes me that the Patriots, who are known for doing rather unconventional things, you know, releasing guys at the top of their game, trading guys before they have to pay them, you know, those sort of things. Now their unconventional thing is doing what is really conventional. A former MVP quarterback is on the market.
Right.
Yeah, he's been injured, but his age suggests that he's still got a lot of life left in his career. They go out and they get him. And it's just like, it says something weird about like the environment we're in, that here it is at the end of June, Cam Newton finally signs, and it's like this big shocking deal that it actually happened.
Like you said, I mean, this one made too much sense. I don't, you know, if anybody says I called it, like, you know, be quiet because everybody called it. The thing for Cam was just the when it was going to happen. I still kept thinking that they would be a good spot for him, but I didn't know if it was going to be right before training camp. Once facilities open back up, we're able to get a physical. For whatever reason, the Patriots decided, okay, let's agree to this thing now. And then once he has a physical, he can officially sign. But this is a perfect situation. You know, if Cam's healthy, I think this could be a match made in heaven for a lot of reasons here. I feel like he and Bill Belichick are at similar positions here. Obviously, Bill Belichick's got 6 Super Bowl rings, but Cam's being counted out, and Bill Belichick is being kind of counted out now. You know, people wonder, okay, can this Patriots, machine keep rolling without Tom Brady? People are like, oh, yes, it's over for the Patriots. They're looking and they're like, there are a lot of people who are happy to see Cam, not have a job. And then now here they are, both of these guys. I think they feel like they need each other, and they probably understand each other. And that's why one of the reasons why I feel like this could be a good thing right here. Do you think that that this is the perfect timing for them? This wouldn't have worked like 5-6 years ago, right?
No. In 2011, when Cam was drafted,
Right.
number 1 overall, if it had been a situation in which he was joining Bill Belichick's Patriots, I don't think that works out. If it had been 2015, after he won the MVP, Tom Brady leaves for Tampa, and Cam is available and you get him, that wouldn't have worked out. But there's a humility there. There's the thing that connects Belichick and Cam is the chip on their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
They both have them. It manifests itself differently for both men, but they're not that different in that they perceive slights and they use it as motivation. It's like Michael Jordan and how we saw him in The Last Dance. Like, they're always looking for something to fuel them. And this time it's legitimate. It's not like it's you just made up that LeBradford Smith was trash talking to you. This is legitimate. Like, some people think that the Patriots dynasty is over because Brady is gone. Just the same, some people think that Cam, because he has had various injuries, including this one to his shoulder that's most problematic, they think he just will never be the same ever again. When you put those two together in a proven system, it could be really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you talk about that system, the Patriots didn't do a lot of chucking the ball, 70 yards downfield with Tom Brady. It was a lot of getting the ball out quickly, moving guys around, throwing all kinds of different looks at the defense, forcing them to react, and then exploiting the mismatches, which I think will be good for Cam because he's not going to have to stand back there forever, subject himself to a beating. He's not going to have to rifle that ball 80 yards downfield 100 times a game with that surgically repaired shoulder. He's going to be getting it out quickly, and then he'll pick his spots when he's going to run. I think that what they do with this system is perfect for this time of Cam Newton's career.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that there is going to be some evolution we need to see in Cam, but I don't like that idea that he can't. I think in some ways people have dehumanized Cam Newton by just saying this is what he is. He's flat. He will not evolve. When given the opportunity to evolve, he has evolved. And when you look at when Ron Rivera brought in Norv Turner and his son and a totally different system, we didn't get enough of a sample size because Cam was injured. But what we saw in a smaller sample size, the completion percentage was around 67%, which is 5, 6, 7 points higher than most of his career. And we saw a guy who has continued to adjust. If you look at it, he's had a number of coordinators because the Panthers could never really get their offense right on a consistent level. And he's continued to be a quality quarterback. All quarterbacks really show themselves when they get into their 30s and they start to lose some of their superpowers. Even for the guy who's the drop back passer with the strong arm, you think of a Peyton Manning. Look at how he had to adjust after the neck.
Yeah.
And that was even later in his career that Cam is. When you talk about more mobile quarterbacks, you think of a guy like Steve McNair and how he had to adjust as football wore on him and took away some of his powers. Warren Moon in college at the University of Washington was a lot more of a dual threat guy. By the time he came to the NFL via the CFL, he was a much different, stay in the pocket type quarterback. I think you can even take it to a guy like Russell Wilson, who's, now mid-career and thriving, never missed a game. But his game has evolved in a tremendous way. You got to give Cam that opportunity. And this is a great test of everything he is, bringing him into New England and putting him in the system. But instead of thinking that he's just wrong for them culturally, I think you have to look and say, it's kind of on them to get the best out of one of the most unique quarterbacks in NFL history.
Now, they always seem to find a way to find guys who are unique, who are individuals, who are, kind of different. And for whatever reason, they come in and they conform to the Patriot way. Randy Moss nobody wanted any parts of him. We've seen a number of guys they picked up where people had written them off. How do you think Bill Belichick handles Cam Newton? Are we going to see any more of these scarves and crazy hats, you think? Is he going to let Cam be Cam, or do you think Cam's going to have to kind of conform to that Patriot way?
Well, as controlling as Bill Belichick can be, I think he knows. I hope he knows, especially in the climate that we're in America right now, that you ain't got no business concerning yourself with the style of a player. Mm-hmm. So just throw that out. I mean, if the guy can wear whatever he wants, chinchilla, whatever he's gonna wear to the press conference. He might show up with a bear on an actual live bear on his body, and Bill Belichick's just gonna need to chill on that. Now, I think in terms of what he says in press conferences and such, he's probably gonna be more boring than he's ever been. That's pretty consistent with the Patriot way. But if you really pay attention to Cam, except for some of those moments of great controversy, he generally is a pretty bland interview. Right. So I don't think there's going to be a problem with that so much, as long as he's just on top of things. And I think he's going to be on top of things because he's going to be learning, a slightly different way of playing football. And I think he also is looking at it from a financial standpoint. He wants to get one more big contract, surely. If he can show he's healthy and he can play his best, he'll get that, whether it's a long-term deal to stay in New England or whether it's to go on somewhere else. But, yeah, I think he's going to fit in just fine. I mean, this is a place where, Martellus Bennett did just fine in a Patriots uniform when you really think about it. Michael, I don't, maybe not as much, but it really wasn't if Michael Bennett was still the player that he was 3 or 4 years ago, he'd still be on that team. I guarantee you that. So I think you got to be willing to kind of look at it. And it's all about football ultimately with Belichick. And I think it's going to be for them clearly as much success as he had with Brady. There was a tug of war about who really deserved most of the credit and most of the power really in that relationship. Right. And I think Bill Belichick is going to welcome the opportunity to embrace Cam, and I think Cam is going to embrace getting a chance that's this good, because a lot of times, his situation could have been a team that is truly rebuilding, and he not get the opportunity to show exactly what he has. That's what's wonderful about this New England situation, is they've got the skeleton of a team that should have a winning record next year. And how much of a winning record depends on how well the quarterback plays in a lot of ways.
Yeah, how do you think, Josh McDaniels does with Cam? Do you think that he's going to try to reinvent Cam, or do you think that he'll take what Cam does and do it well? Because we've seen, look, this guy got a decent amount out of Tim Tebow. during that 1 year in Denver. He got a decent amount out of Jacoby Brissett. Um, Jimmy Garoppolo, who, probably more talented than those other ones, he did well. It seems like he understands talent and understands strengths and weaknesses and puts guys in position. But Cam's way different than Brady.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting how that dynamic really works with them. I mean, I do see Cam as being, the star version of Jacoby Brissett in a lot of ways. I think his style of football, or at least the style of football we saw from him the last time he was healthy, does translate. My concern is that there is a kind of a fading of his powers,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens there. Is Josh McDaniel going to be able to help him compensate for things that he can't do anymore because he's not 25 and he's coming off of all these surgeries, really putting him in a position to succeed, and Cam understanding, let me do the simple thing here rather than just show you how amazing I am. I mean, I think that's going to be more the things they have to work out and the conflict there, as opposed to just who Cam fundamentally is versus just, who the Patriots fundamentally are.
Yeah. I feel like the table's kind of set for Cam. They've already been shifting this team to be more run oriented on offense in the last several years to help ease pressure on Brady. They've got, Sonny Michel, Burkhead, James White, by themselves, they are not Christian McCaffrey, but all three of those guys together can, give you a lot, just like Cam had there. They've got young, talented wide receivers who are still developing.
Yeah.
I don't see an offense that Cam is going to have to be Superman. There were a lot of years in Carolina where he did not have a lot to work with. But I feel like this is a pretty decent collection of weapons that he's got as his supporting cast.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a defense that the core of that defense is still there, and they finished second in the NFL in total defense, if not first last year. A modern NFL defense. A team that the back end of it is really, really strong. So yeah, I think the fact that they can keep scores low takes a lot off of the quarterback and allows you to stretch things quite a bit. So I think it is an ideal situation of all the other possible situations. We're thinking about the Chargers, and maybe if it was a different style of coordinator than what Jay Gruden likes, a team
Right.
like Jacksonville, all of those teams, they're in situations in which, if the quarterback is not going to play at a superstar level, they could be in a little bit of trouble.
Right.
I mean, I know I like some of the weapons on the Chargers, obviously, but their team isn't balanced in every way that it needs to be. This team has some pretty solid balance. And, yeah, I think they're as we saw last year, Jonesy, they won games when Tom Brady did not play well.
Right.
Not just according to Tom Brady's high standard, but when he just didn't play well, period, for any starting NFL quarterback. Cam has always been up and down. We understand that. And they're going to be able to win games. If he doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be in positions to win games in which he's not prolific. But then I also think with Josh and that, I think there are going to be some things that they can show Cam that can make him, an even more efficient and productive passer than we've ever seen before.
Right.
And I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really curious as to how New England's fan base will welcome him in Cam. I mean, I've seen some that people are excited, but say he gets off to a little bit of a slow start. He's got huge shoes to fill, even though he's no slouch already himself. But how do you think that dynamic's going to be?
It's going to be rough. I mean, you're following Superman, right? I mean, I mean, we talked about this a little. I mean, maybe Cam is a bit like Cyborg,
Right, right.
especially now that he's got this prepared body. So he's he's always been on the football field a superhero himself, and even used to, he wore the S on his chest. He's not that anymore, and he's following maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, certainly Tom Brady has a claim to the GOAT status there. That's incredibly hard. Normally, the guy who follows a guy like Tom Brady would be somebody like Jared Stidham, somebody we don't know who's a true stopgap. Having this star or former star potential stopgap, potential solution is a little different than we've seen before.
Right.
And it's always hard for those guys in sports. I think about Vin Baker following Sean Kemp in Seattle.
Yeah.
Ray Allen had to follow Gary Payton. He got traded for Gary Payton. You can just kind of go on and on, about different things like that. I remember Steve Francis, Tracy McGrady got traded to Houston, and Steve Francis was in that deal.
Yeah.
It's really hard, even when you are a star, to replace the star. And but the big difference is in a lot of those situations, teams are fully rebuilding.
Yeah.
The Patriots aren't rebuilding. I mean, I think that they've gotten older, and they're trying to get younger again. But by no means is the cupboard bare there. And by no means is that Patriots team just so old that they can't do anything anymore. So you're dealing with the most successful personnel department in the NFL over the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
Not one of, Jonesy. I mean, we're not talking like Green Bay or Seattle. When you start talking about the one-ofs, the places that are really good, that have really gotten it done, you're talking about the premier personnel department. So they're always finding talent, and they've always found ways to keep on winning. Patriot fans are going to have to get used to what is likely, hey, we got a good team, but we're going to have to pull off like a perfect game here to win the Super Bowl. And that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard, and a lot of that's going to fall on Cam. But one thing fans have to realize is, like, if you're not willing to commit to him, guess what? He's not committing to you for more than a year either.
Right.
So
right.
think about that. Think about that. And this is a relationship. He ain't just having to prove himself to you. If you like some of the things he's doing, you're going to have to prove yourself to him.
Right.
And so this is where the stubbornness and the how spoiled a fan base comes into play, and that's going to be really difficult. But for Cam, he just keep your head down and just focus on the big picture. You are trying to reestablish your career here. You don't have to prove it all in just one season. No matter how motivated he seems on Instagram, he does not have to prove it all in one season.
He's been under scrutiny for so long that this isn't going to be new to him. Yeah, the situation of taking over for a star is new, but he's used to being under the microscope. And because of that, he'll probably be better for this job than a lot of guys would be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in a lot of ways, it's much better than just some anonymous guy.
Right.
Because it's easy to kill that anonymous guy. And, in this case, there's just a hope to him, that there's not a pessimism or to necessarily to him. No, there's just not an anonymity to him. And so I think he comes in not only with, he's trying to prove himself to a new fan base, but he's also got a lot of fans around the NFL.
Right.
Who want to see him get back to a high level. And let's not eliminate the race factor here. I mean, he's a preeminent black quarterback.
Yeah.
An MVP.
Yeah.
And he came before Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And then in a lot of ways, if you want to take it all the way from, you know, even beyond Doug Williams until, now having Patrick Mahomes on top of the league, having Lamar Jackson on top of the league, he was important in bridging, creating that bridge that they were able to walk across. So there's a lot of people who, number one, you just want him to get a fair shake.
Right.
And then beyond that, like, you're hoping if he is in a good situation that he can succeed. So it's not like he's just coming in here as this nobody who has to prove himself to the greatest dynasty we've seen in the NFL.
If Bill Belichick can pull this thing off and sometime in the Cam Newton era win a Super Bowl, is that more impressive than his first 6? Part of me wants to say yes.
Wow. I kind of look at it like Bill Belichick has made the cake and the crumb is really damn good. This would be the perfect icing.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I don't think you can separate all that he's done. I do think Bill Belichick, just like Tom Brady, is on that mission to get one by themselves. Yeah. Like Shaq did it in Miami with D Wade without Kobe. Then Kobe came back and won 2 without Shaq.
Right.
With Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom and those guys. And for both of them, despite the fact that they had three-peated together, both of them needed that separately. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of cemented a legend that had already been established. I think it's the same thing for Bill Belichick. I think it's the same thing for Tom Brady. And it's amazing how they're both in their own ways, identical situations.
Yeah.
Roster-wise. I'm not talking about franchise-wise. We know the difference between the Bucs and what the Patriots have become.
Right.
But roster, you're looking at them and you're like, hey, Tampa's a good team. If they get, if Tom Brady can compete and ball, and now that they got Gronk as well, their floor is probably 9-7, right? And we're just wondering what their ceiling is. And I think Patriots, before we even knew about the possibility of Cam Newton, we were looking at them, and probably their floor is probably like 9-7, 8-8, 7-9, somewhere between 7 and 9 wins. But if they could figure out, either through the development of Jarrett Stidham or bringing in a quarterback, all of a sudden their potential rises. Mm-hmm. So they're virtually in the same place. I think Tampa's roster overall is sexier.
For sure.
And most people would probably look at it and say that it's better. But when you add the fact that you've got Bill Belichick, Mr. Not only does he do more with less, he prefers to do more with less.
Right. Exactly.
If you give him all the riches, he's going to be like, man, this is too rich. I can't do this. I can't drive this contraption with all these fancy gadgets. He's going to take away some of those gadgets anyway and just start, putting the linoleum floor,
exactly.
Back in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff. So, they're in a similar place. And so whose genius is going to stand out, at least in 2020? That's the most intriguing question of this NFL season.
Exactly. It's going to be fascinating to watch, and we are going to have to revisit again. I really appreciate you coming on. I feel like we could go on for another hour. There's so much to get to. But between now and, before the start of the regular season, we're going to do it again.
All right. Sounds good, my man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Tell everybody real quick where they can find you.
You can find me, WashingtonPost.com/Brewer. You can find me on Twitter. It's just @Jerry Brewer. And on Instagram, it's real Jerry Brewer. Not the fake ones, real Jerry Brewer. It's the only name I could, I had to change it from Brew Down because people couldn't really find me. And then there's Facebook page, Jerry Brewer Writes.
All right, good deal. Thank you so much, man. I'll be talking to you soon.
Anytime, man. Appreciate you.
All right, hope you guys have a great one. Really going to be one of the most intriguing seasons for a number of reasons. Not only do we have a huge change in the quarterback landscape all over the place in the NFL, we also have the uncertainty of how things are going to unfold with the coronavirus and how teams can control and try to minimize the spread of this virus. And if we're able to have a normal season, looks unlikely with the fans, but we just don't know. But we're continuing to monitor that. We're now basically a month away from the anticipated start of training camp. A lot can change between now and then, but we're going to keep our fingers to the pulse of it all and document it as it comes the best we can. Hope you have a great day. Hope you are safe. Hope you are well. Please take this link and share it with your friends. Go on iTunes, leave me a review and a rating, and I will talk to you guys again next week.